Welcome to the Rural Missions Podcast. We exist to enable rural churches in God's mission. So join us now as we hear stories of hope from across the UK. Today I'm joined by a very special guest. I am pleased to welcome Neville Barnes. Neville, who are you?
Thank you, Bob. It's wonderful to be here. I'm Neville and I live in Sheffield, but the accent might give me away as being from Northern Ireland originally. Live in Sheffield, part of a community there. I live in a shared house. I'm single, but I live there with 3 other adults and it's a lot of fun.
It's a lot of fun. So what drew you over to Sheffield? Why did you come to be in a shared house there?
Work brought me across. I work for an organisation called Church Army and I needed somewhere to live. I was already living within our wider community. We live in the north of Sheffield, and so as children arrived into the house that I was living in, then space was short, and so I literally went up to the top of the hill and I knocked on the door of one of our other houses and said, "Can I live here?" They interviewed me on the stairs and then let me know the next day that I was in.
So you say that you work for the Church Army. I know you're a captain in the Church Army. What's an everyday week look like for you in the Army?
In the Army. An everyday, ordinary life. Oh, such a hard question because I live via my computer, which I don't like. Lots of life with my job now is admin. Even though I'm an evangelist in the Church Army, I seem to do a lot of admin. I'm not motivated by that. I don't particularly like that. But there are things about all of our jobs when we have a job that we don't particularly like. And so the way I compensate for that is I find a different location in Sheffield most days to try and do my work from. And Sheffield, I don't think it is famous for it, but has a lot of food halls. Really good quality food, really good quality coffee. And so I go find a table, and usually by the time I've left, I've met people, I've had big conversations with people, I've laughed with people, and so that, I think I would give up my work if it wasn't for people.
Wow. So you say that you're part of the Church Army, so that's different to the Territorial Army or the Army, Be the Best and all of those kind of things. What's it mean to be in the Church Army?
Well, I'm glad you didn't compare us to Dad's Army.
Ah, true.
Sometimes internally we do that, but Church Army, as I'd already said there about I'm an evangelist, we're like a bit like a family of evangelists that operate within the Church of England. And most people listening to this might think, oh, I don't want to listen to any more of this interview, an evangelist, don't like that. But really it's just a sharing of the good news that God is very interested in people's lives as they're living their lives in the everyday. That's what I want to communicate, which is why I like going to food halls so much, because you really do rub up against everyday life. Because people's stories of their life, it feels like it falls in the ordinary, but whenever people share that, it is so special and it's so extraordinary. And just to listen is a gift, but even just to pray, or if the conversations have got to that point, to be able to share that God actually is really interested in that, and then to catch up with them in a week or in a month, that there's something very special where they're allowing a conversation to slip into their lives that has God as a part of it. Mm.
And the word evangelist is used in a lot of settings. Apple have evangelists on their staff team, and it's not an evangelist that goes around talking about Jesus. It's somebody who's there to proclaim good news. And so for you, you're proclaiming the good news of Jesus, which I think is a good cause.
Yes, and Google also have evangelists, because I remember seeing a job advert and thinking, I want that salary, but that wasn't for me.
Yeah, not within the church. So thinking of encouragement, you're encouraged by meeting people, by having those everyday conversations. What's something that's encouraged you recently, Neville?
This will feel like, how could that possibly be an encouragement? And it isn't an encouragement. The event isn't an encouragement, but what came out of it was an encouragement. The start of this year, my nephew died of a massive heart attack. He was only 40, and left behind a widow and 2 children. And his wife, my niece-in-law, had joined grief groups, but those tended to be people in their 80s who are in those groups. And while grief is grief to everyone, I think she found it hard for people to understand her grief of seeing other couples out with their children, and that she didn't have that, or go into church with families, and she felt like she wasn't quite perhaps a full family because she had lost her husband. And so within my own church in Sheffield, we had a beautiful couple, but he died about 4 years ago of cancer and left behind young children and his widow. And so I was able to introduce them to each other. And so the conversations that have come out of that for my niece have been so incredibly supportive and helpful. And just to be heard, to be listened to be understood is so supportive for her. So that is an encouragement for me, even though it has come out of difficulty for 2 families.
Yeah, and people listening, a lot of people might be suffering from bereavement, either recent or way back in the past. It's a reality of our life. So encouragement is trying to find hope and purpose and peace and strength in the midst of that. So thank you for your honesty in that and sharing. It's obviously a vulnerable story as well, because it's close to your heart. It's family. It's the people that you live by and support. So thank you. So we've looked at some encouragement, and this is a sort of a secondary question into that. Where have you seen good news in everyday life recently?
I have seen good news in tiny things, and sometimes when life is tough and we're looking for good news, we want it to be big, almost as a counterweight to how big the discouragement in life feels or the difficulty that we're going through. But yet so much of life is lots of little things that are really good. And I remember having a conversation with a different nephew, being Irish, large family, so we get away with that. And he was questioning, given how much bad news there was in the world, of actually how, in many ways, how can you say there's a God whenever nothing has actually improved since Jesus came? How has it possibly got better? And I felt a bit stuck in being able to answer that. And so I was sitting in his lounge, which looks out onto the estate that they have. And I said, has anyone, this sounds awful to say it now, but has anyone died this week on your estate? And he said, not that I know of. And I said, have all the children come home safely from school this week to your estate? They said, yes. And so I went through very small things that people live every single day. Mm-hmm. And I said, so if you count all of those little things that you've no idea about, but actually your estate has not made it onto the news this week, which is good news. There are so many good things that are happening in our world, but because they're small and because they happened yesterday and happened the day before, we do not treat them as good news. They're just news. It isn't even news. Actually, it's incredibly good. So I suppose my view of the world is we live in a world that is incredible. And for me, my good news is the shop across the road from where I live. I have easy access to chocolate, which is probably not a good news story. But going in there, I realise it's a bit like a church. And those people who work behind the counter know everybody who comes in there by name. Is that not good news for our street? And I remember it was Christmas past, and people who were elderly weren't able to get to the shop because of snow, and the shop knew their order off by heart. And so we went across to help them out, and we just took what they would have bought anyway to those houses. And so for me, good news is in little deeds lived every single day, and I think our lives are packed out with them. But because we're looking for big good news, we think there is no good news.
Wow, that's deeply profound, Neville.
Oh, well, thank you.
very deep for 11:20 on a Wednesday morning. But that's good. How do we see the good in the everyday, in the ordinary, in the things that we pass by? And part of me doing this Faith in the Everyday and our Pure Brunch here, 10 till 12 on a Wednesday, is that midweek reflection of what does the ordinary look like, and where do I find hope? Where do I find faith? Where do I find peace and strength? So great, a real attribute. That is some good news for sure. Now onto a slightly different tack, and you've started to process this a little bit with us already, but what is it that keeps you going when life is difficult?
I don't actually know what you're talking about earlier there, but I'm going to go with my faith. It's my faith that has, from childhood, kept me going, and it seems like faith feels like it's in me, but it isn't quite completely me, that it's owned by someone else as well. And for me, that other person is God. So it's like two people holding on to the same thing. You can't just pull it out of the other person's hand. And so therefore it has a different speed, it has a different voice, it has a different way than me, but it's in me. And so often I'm feeling it pull with me, sometimes it pulls against me, but somehow or other that sensation anchors me back into the good news that I've just been talking about.
So welcome back to my conversation here with Captain Neville Barnes from the Church Army. Got to give you the full recognition and doff the cap. So we've explored some of what good news and encouragement looks like for you, where you find some hope and in the midst of difficulty. And you've, again, started to unpack some of this, but what role does faith, hope and purpose play in your life?
Well, first of all, I love the emphasis on the word captain there. It's like either I was going to get a pay rise or sacked. It had that feeling to it. You've
earned the title, so I'm going to give you your full title.
Thank you. So faith, hope, purpose. You don't ask small questions, do you, Bob?
No, not at all. We
Thanks,
want to get
Bob.
to know people in such a short space of time.
Okay.
So,
faith, hope, purpose. It's like a stick and a carrot. So there's something in each of those things that draws me forward, but equally there's something about those things that is inconvenient. It's poking me to live, not to live yesterday again. Yesterday's gone. I've got today, but yesterday has some wisdom to speak to me. And often I make the mistake of reliving yesterday over again, rather than asking myself, what did I learn from yesterday? What was the wisdom? I actually want to live today as though no day ever existed before. It's a fresh day.
Wow.
Let me go again. But it's faith and it's hope and it's purpose that are, because I don't think we can live in a vacuum very easily. And so my life doesn't have a vacuum because I have faith and because there is hope and because there's purpose. Those are like in the room with me saying, okay, what are we going to do today? How's today going to be lived so that it isn't a repeat of my yesterday?
Wow. You're telling me my questions are big, but you're coming out with some big answers, Neville. Definitely a profound moment for 11:35, 11:40 here on a Wednesday morning.
I thought gold lasted longer than that, but
so that's great. It is important to have those anchors in our life, the things that are going to hold us, sustain us, and especially for me as a Christian, I believe that exact same thing. Like faith has to play a significant part in how do I live that day in the light of the good news of Jesus. And for me, only He can bring that purpose and that restoration into life. So, a couple more questions. We're going to hit the big one after a few tracks in a moment. But
yeah, I'm glad these have only been really easy introductory questions to the big one, whatever it is going to be.
Oh yeah, for sure. I've got to ease you in gently.
Thank you.
So, Neville, you've lived life. I'm sure you've learnt some things along the way. So, for us that are here listening this morning, what is one lesson that life has taught you that you think it would be great to share with us?
I have a proverb on a fridge back in Ireland, and because I don't see it very often, it's a good reminder. And it says, it'll be all right in the end. If it's not all right, it's not the end. And so I think that is the lesson of life. There is constant, well, it's not constant, there are disappointments, there are letdowns. You've invested yourself so heavily into something, and all of a sudden it's over. And if you're willing to stand up, life's actually ready to say, let's go again. And I suppose that's what I've learned, is not to get too intense about people not doing things the way I want them to, not to get too upset whenever people say no to me, because actually, and even especially when it comes to injustice, or it feels like an injustice to me, is to take a big breath and think, this is for people who can't wait, this is horrible. But what I've learned over my life is 5 years later, I'm looking back and I'm thinking, I am so glad they didn't say yes to that, because that would be a disaster for me right now. And so we do not see everything. And there's an element of having to trust that this disaster might actually be opening up something that is better. And I know that one day I'll be thinking, oh, well, that didn't open up to anything because it's my final day on this earth. And on that day, that will open up another day that I am actually looking forward to.
Wow.
So if it's not all right, it's not the end. It will be all right.
And if it's not all right, then it's not the end.
Yes.
Yes. So you said that that's on a fridge in Ireland.
Yes.
I'm going to presume it's a fridge magnet. How come that's not made its way over, or would that be stealing it from some family member?
No. So I bought a house in the most beautiful place in the world in Donegal in 2007, which is the year the Irish economy collapsed. So I have a house in negative equity. So renting a room in Sheffield in a community makes a lot of sense when you're still paying a mortgage for a house in Ireland. So, so that could be seen as a disappointment. That could be seen as a letdown, but it's not the end. I have a house there with a fridge, with nothing in it, but on the front of it, it tells me everything about my mortgage.
Wow, I have a house and a fridge.
Yes.
Wow, brilliant. Nothing else in there. It's just a fridge and a magnet. But it's not the end, so
It's not the, you're right.
it's all good.
We're maybe killing that now.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
So, Neville, we are entering our final question. I've saved the best till last. And I think it's a good question to end on, because we are all looking for hope. We're looking for some purpose. We're looking for some inspiration. So, for those people that are listening today who need some encouragement, what would you say to us?
So this is the biggest question out of all your questions, Bob?
Yeah, out of everything, what you've done with life, how you cope with stuff, we need some encouragement, Neville.
Okay.
To face the rest of
Well,
today. What
let
are we
me give
going
you
with?
some encouragement. It's on a fridge in Ireland. I think I've already referred to small things.
Yeah.
I would say to someone who really needs some encouragement is go to your local shop or your coffee shop. Go to somewhere that is regular to you. And if you don't know the name of the person who has served you again and again and again, is ask them. And when they tell you their name, is say to them something that you're actually, as you think about it, really grateful for. Because that person is behind that counter constantly, dealing with a lot of people. So I think to encourage yourself, go and speak to them and thank them for something that you have noticed that they have done for someone else or for you. And then stand and watch their face. Because their face, their eyes, and maybe words out of their mouth will bring encouragement to you. So sometimes if encouragement's low or lacking, the way to prime the pump is to actually give a tiny moment of encouragement, but then not to walk away, but to watch, because it will come back to you.
And let me echo that, because my wife, we've got a little 5-year-old, Ruben, who's now at school. She drops him off on a Monday morning for breakfast club, and then she goes shopping at Aldi every week. There are other shops out there. We just choose Aldi. But over the years, her and Ruben previously, when he used to go with her at 8 o'clock on a Monday morning, always shopping time, she got to know one of the cashiers there and was interested, got to know his name, got to know about his family. He knows that we pray for him regularly. We pray for his family. His daughter's going through some health stuff. And actually the difference that makes on somebody that we don't see anywhere else, but they've got that encouragement of, they know my name, they know some of my life, and weirdly, these people that are just out of nowhere are praying for me, encouraging me every week they see me. And I remember once Ruben went in during the half term with Beck and saw him and went running up and was like, you're back. And there is that beautiful thing in what does community look like, even if it is in those short snippets. So,
absolutely. If I have time,
go for it.
So we take turns in our house to do the shopping, and it's like some kind of punishment. So it's only once a month that we go and do the shopping for the house. So it's not once a week. Wow. It's great.
So no fresh fruit and vegetable in your house.
I'm convinced they wait until I'm going shopping to put on stuff that probably doesn't really exist. It's just made up. I'm convinced. And so Astrid, to name drop another shop that we shouldn't name drop probably on radio, went there, and I was really struck that all the people who were serving had grey hair, just like me. I'm thinking, well, I really like that the age profile is older in the shop, and I couldn't find about 3 things on the list. I just had no idea what they were, and the customer services and the people on the aisles, they took me. Someone even came after me afterwards and said, did you find it okay? Is there anything else you need? And so I left the shop feeling really light and happy and thinking, wow, I don't often leave Asta feeling blessed, but I feel really blessed. So I got in the car and I phoned Asta. It's really hard to leave a compliment. The only way is to access complaints in order to compliment, but I did. So the person was shocked that I was phoning up to say thank you for the service that I'd had, and they asked for the name of the shop that I'd been in, and they said, can we send you a survey? And I thought, oh no, what have I unleashed here? I have a survey to fill in now. But then they also sent me a voucher to say thank you for saying thank you. So an encouragement came back very quickly. So encourage first, it will come back.
So Neville, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom. Thank you for joining our Faith in the Everyday. Hopefully, I'm sure, without a doubt, people listening, you have connected with something sparked your interest, and maybe you want to ponder on that. What does faith, hope, purpose look like for you? What's good news that you're seeing? What's giving you confidence in this every day? And remembering that phrase, like, if it's not the end, then it's not done, or if it's not.
So the first line is it'll be all right in the end.
That's it.
If it's not all right, it's not the end.
Yeah. So thank you for joining us. It's been a pleasure getting to know you. Thank you everyone for listening. To find out how we can support your church, head to ruralmissions.org.uk.